Hey everyone, back with another tutorial. It has been a while and I've been wanting to do videos for some time, and I'm sorry I haven't been on the channel in a while, but I have been basically working 7 days a week trying to build some business and work at the same time, and it's just drained me. But I'm back and I want to teach you guys more producing, and obviously I have also been producing in moments in those gaps, hoping to get another track out. So with that, basically I was asked in a comment around how to process leads and how we do them properly. So I thought I would address that today, and I would take you through this lead stack that we've made for this new track and just show you how it works. So I'll run you through basically the melody, and then I'll quickly just basically mostly focus on the processing and how you kind of layer leads. Of course, you can do what you want at the end of this, but the aim is to give you a little bit of inspiration and some tips along the way. So let's get into it. This is a new track we're working on. I'll just play you a leads here so you can just listen to it. Let's have a go. You play that in the full totality. Okay, so the first thing I want to point out is obviously the leads in solo versus when they're played together, and that should give you an indicator there and then that the lead itself doesn't need to carry the track. It needs to fit into the track. It needs to sound big, but to bring it to life, you need things around it. So don't necessarily need to make the leads do all the work. You know, we have a counter melody here, which goes something like this. You get the gist of it. And then we got the sort of pads here. The pads literally just follow the lead melody. You can just see that it's pretty simple stuff. So that's how we did the pads. Just write the melody and then you just use the pads as a backdrop to that, even with the sub pad. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, you can see it's literally just following the melody. So yeah, that's just a little trick I thought I would squeeze in. But yeah. Now, the main thing you guys want to know is, or Sasha, the gentleman that requested it from Germany, is how to process your leads. So, what have we done here? Let's talk about the layering first. In layering of leads, you should always have one main layer, and that should really be most of your lead, and then the rest of them are just very supporting layers. So let's play them one by one and see how we go. Okay, we'll play the next layer down. And as you can hear, it's not really nowhere near as loud or as prominent. It's actually quite just supportive. So it's not meant to be in your face. And then finally, the last one. A little bit more attack, even when it's fully open. Now, to be honest, it's the same level of attack as the other one, but yeah, it's just not as loud. So if we combine them together, that's really it. And we'll just look at the automation. Okay, so we've got the lead opening and closing. Now, I like to choose sounds, and depending upon what they sound like when they're open and what they sound like when they're closed, you want to have something obviously as the main layer, which sounds nice closed and also sounds nice when it's open. So it's got that nice pluckiness. They all have that nice pluckiness, and when they open, they sound nice and open. So definitely all of them do that, and this is only a 3-layered lead. First one, Silent. The next one is Spire. Ooh, look at that. No, thank you. The next one is just Spire. I think it's the Alan Watts template. Well, one of the sound packs from Alan Watts. And this is the same, I think. It's just probably saved it in a separate project because I did a collect all and save. So let's go through them again. Now, they're not like fully open and wide and big, and you can have that as well, but they got a little bit of attack to them still, and you know, you can still hear them cut through the mix with a little bit of a quick attack, and they're not overly sustained and have like big releases or anything like that. They don't need to be. We can get into processing, and you know, obviously we have different levels of EQ on each of them. We got kind of there, we got kind of there. Kind of that. Can't remember exactly why we made these mixing decisions like we did, but like this one's cut here, that one's cut a little bit higher up, and this one we've really taken that part down because we really want just the highs of that lead. So really all the lows from this one are good enough. A few more lows from that one. Not so many lows from that one. It's not so much, just make sure that it sounds nice and clean when it's together. And I think EQing decisions, they just vary lead to lead. So I can't give you an exact science on it, but yeah, obviously just EQ each lead separately and blend it in the best you can, and don't go too overboard. As you can see, haven't really gone too overboard. Haven't really done any extravagant boosts or anything like that. So yeah. Now, if you move on, basically we've used a rack, and inside there's another rack of Ableton racks, and then there's another rack. You don't have to do this, but kind of just did it for the macros. So we could just program all the filter cutoffs into one macro. And if you don't know what that is, I definitely can do another video, but look that up, and it's just a function of Ableton, but it's just so you can control multiple filters or parameters within each of these synths together. So I've basically mapped the cutoff of this to this macro here. You gotta do it in here somewhere. There we go. So you can map that to the macro, and then you can control them all together. It just saves you a lot of time. Okay, so on to the cool stuff after that. Got a utility here. I probably don't remember why I did that, but probably just did it to... The signal was probably coming in too hot from this, so I just brought it down. It is important, something called gain staging. So every time a signal is going into a synth, it's not coming in too hot. If you ever see a signal that's redlining, make sure you bring it down. And you can see that, for example, with FabFilter here. So if I turn this off, see it brings it down a bit. But yeah. Anyway, so just to move on, we've got just one FabFilter here. Subtle stereo enhancer setting. Just a few boosts sort of here on the left and right channels. Just to give it a bit more width on the lead. So just boosting the left and right channels there. I think it's something we like. You can just choose left or right here. And yeah, just made some boosts to the left and right, keeping the center unboosted, giving it a bit more width. And then we've got some lead balancing here, which is like a mix of subtractive EQs. And now these are all done on the main EQ, of course, for the whole lead bus. Got some mid-side EQ here. Got some mid-side EQ boost there. Now this is just a normal stereo dip here. Then we've just boosted the left and right sides on the back, just because we want to make a cut here. So there's just some processing here. Now play around with this. I generally like to boost a bit of the sides through the middle and through the top end, and just make some low cuts on the places I don't want the sort of the left and right sticking out. So yeah, little bit of EQ there. Just some basic EQs here, just to cut out some harsh frequencies after that. Now, after that, we've just got a auto filter. Now, I don't remember exactly why I put this one in. Yeah, it's got a little bit of phasing on it. Just a little bit of a phaser there to give it a little bit more phase. And then we've got a delay. Now the thing is, when you add something to a rack, it almost acts like its own bus. So it does keep everything nice and tight into one big processing chain away from this lead, and then that's why we've got it in the rack. So it's nice. Sometimes you can do this all in a bus and blend it in, but I like to do it in racks. So yeah, got a delay, nice little bit of feedback, ping pong. Now then got a compressor at the end of it. Just a very, very tight compression on the peaks, just to kind of catch them. Again, a high release here because we're really just trying to catch the peaks. Really, you could even just do that, just to give a... Now, don't be confused here. Even though this meter, you couldn't really see anything, you feel like it's not doing anything, you'll see at very subtle points the peaks will catch. And there is an auto gain on this to bring the levels up, which this can also be very useful for just to, if you're doing some cuts and you don't feel like it's powerful enough, you can just use that as a boost. And again, it's up to you where you do this in the chain, but I like doing it in the compressors. I think the compressor kind of brings it out. You can compress a little bit, bring out what you want, and do it all in here. It's really nice. And then the reverb comes at the end. So really, I think the chain should be here. It should be EQs on each of the channels. No real processing on the channels, but then on the bus, you've got the EQs first. Then we've got like a phaser, then the delay, then the compressor, and then the reverb at the end. And then obviously sidechain to put it all together. So yeah, I like to put the reverbs at the end of the compressor. I don't like to compress the reverb. Keep it nice and open. We're using FabFilter here. Got a pretty high decay and some nice spread. Room size, I think that's dependent on you. You can kind of play around with that. And yeah, just kind of kept an EQ here, cut off the lows of this. And you can play around with the wet settings sometimes. You can bring it up a little bit, but that's kind of how we've done it. Make sure that the quality is on ultra or high if you're using the stock Ableton reverb. But there's some really, really cool aftermarket reverbs out there. Like Valhalla, I think an aftermarket reverb is a good choice. I do like a lot of the stock Ableton plugins, as you can see, especially the EQs and phasers. But... oh, and the delays, but compressors and reverbs. And sometimes with these guys, when you're doing kind of your mid-side EQ, you kind of want to reach out for these bespoke tools. Now, this level of EQing here, I just thought I'd let you know, is very, very dependent on the sound. And one of the things I'll say about this is, once you build this, build it enough to a level and then shape it with your EQs on the bus. Shape the entire sound with your EQs. Most of the EQs within each individual layer are just more subtractive, except for this subtle boost there. And then you're really starting to shape the sound with these EQs. And then you're adding your phasing, and then your delay, and then your compression, and then your reverb. So you create that chain to really make it happen. Yeah, and that's kind of how we do our leads. It does depend very track to track. I haven't had to, yeah, it's not always the same, but it's roughly this. And, you know, once you build a really, really good lead rack or a lead sequence, feel free to use it in other tracks. Don't have to just recreate from scratch. I've used this in our previous track and just slightly tweaked it for this one. So it doesn't have to be all brand new for your new track as well. So yeah, that's also a good tip. Now, this track will be mixed down properly before it gets sent to mastering. So again, that's another sort of trick here, that it will need to be more polished. But yeah, you always have to, not always, but you're going to have to remix down a track professionally, you know, create stems, then mix it down, and then send it for mastering. And then you'll get the professional result. All right, guys, I'll leave it there. If you have any questions, definitely comment. If you've watched this far, please subscribe. It helps us a lot. And I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye for now.